And welcome to the PowWow. I think we've got back with us Keisha, that many of you saw on Thursday, and she's going to be with us again tomorrow. Daniel, who was here earlier, Diana, and Christine from last night. So for the question and answer, we'll have a mic up on the stand in the center. So when it comes to question and answer, if you can just queue up and ask your questions from there. Thank you. Oh, take it up there. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm Daniel. I'm the mediator, moderator for this panel. And maybe I'll just start by asking a question of our esteemed panelists, and then we'll sort of bounce it around and take questions from the audience. If that sounds good. Well, actually, I unfortunately missed your talk, but I understood you were talking about different dates in the future that you felt related to the Mayan, calendar and what's unfolding. Maybe you could, reprise that a little bit, and then we could find out from Diana and Keisha how that resonates with their sense of how things are going to unfold or might unfold.
So thank you very much. And I know Diana came up with some dates as well. I didn't get to hear Keisha on Thursday. What I had been advised was that 2012 was the beginning, 2023 was the middle, and 2038 was the end, or one could say the real evolution. And the way I described it last night was like bringing the baby home in 2012, and then you realize it's just starting. So those years between were scenes of times of really bringing things forward. I had also been told that between 2012 and 2023, this is really the most important time and probably the most challenging. And that for many of the things that I was showing, with Pluto coming out of Capricorn around that time, Neptune coming out of Pisces around 2023, 2024, it feels that that period of time will be an explosion of this new consciousness that we're speaking about. But I also see it as some of our most challenging times to integrate these new ideas or a new consciousness in an old setting, an old vehicle, which we are obviously all saying has to be transformed at this time. That's how I would see it.
Interesting. Okay. My information is slightly different, that in 2012 all these new energies come in, and if we take advantage of them, then we can accelerate our process. And that the planet is being cleansed around 2017 for 5 years, and it will stop at the end of that time, and then we can all settle into the new and really prepare for the new golden age in 2032, and the preparation will be moving into fifth dimensional communities, getting the economy so that it's always for the highest good, and money will cease to have any relevance by 2032. We'll be starting to bring in the new spiritual technology, and every time I ask for some information, because I've been asked, my guide says, well, you wouldn't understand it. Other people might, but you won't understand a word of it, so there's no point in telling you anything. So no use asking me anything about the new spiritual technology, but I think it will be beyond our current comprehension.
I agree and disagree both, but I believe that no human being on our planet has been told exactly when anything is going to happen, because we have free will and choice. With free will and choice, as you act positively or negatively, it changes your tomorrow. And so today, we cannot say that there is a specific date, depending on how we act and react to each other and how much love we can offer each other. So I do believe that our planet is going through something really intense right now. It's already begun, and it will continue to keep happening. And what we have to focus on today is being the very best people we could possibly be. As we do this, as we become more loving and more heart conscious, then our tomorrow looks better and better and better. And indeed, there are many changes happening, and I hope we're all on board to be here and witness such beautiful things.
Diana, in your work you talk about this kind of movement into the fifth dimension a little bit, like we're moving from third dimension to fifth dimension. You mentioned it again just now. I'm curious what that actually means, if there's any sense of what that looks like or feels like. I mean, do we still have physical bodies, or were we...
Well, as I understand it, we moved into the 4th dimension last year, and what that means is more people's heart centers are opening, and as people's heart centers open and they recognize that their soul is on a long journey, and it's not just about this life, then they start to live their life differently. And when heart centers open, people don't want to be cruel, they want to start peace movements and shift what is happening. And then as we move into the 5th dimension, our focus is on helping the world, eradicating poverty, making sure there's equality everywhere. And that's the move that's starting. But that by 2032, the whole planet, the whole universe will have moved into the 5th dimension and the people on it.
So that doesn't mean that we're going to have, like, we're going to become transparent or have any kind of ability to levitate or anything like that?
Some people will have their 12 strands of DNA fully operational, and those people will bring back the gifts that they had in Golden Atlantis, and some may be able to levitate, because that's also a feature of angelic sonics, so that when they hold the intention, the angels will then lighten their frequencies so they can levitate, as they used to be able to do. But we will have many of those gifts, or most people will have some of them, but some people will have a lot more of them.
Keisha, what about you, this idea of dimensions or shifting somehow? That is the shift that we're going to experience potentially, you know, more than just a consciousness shift? Does it have a physical aspect to it?
Well, I do believe that we were all sent here to be human beings and to enjoy being a human being and having a body. Being enlightened or shifting into a higher consciousness, I believe that we will be able to utilize our full potential as human beings, use our full brains and really have our DNA correct inside of ourselves. And when this happens, I believe that we will have the potential to do many great things with telepathy and levitation, speaking to each other without technology. If you think about it, we use a very, very small portion of our brain right now. And when you coincide with love energy and you step into a higher frequency, you are living from a bigger love place. There's a universal promise to all of us. The more loving you are, the more intelligent you become. Once you start opening your hearts and living from love, we will utilize all of our brain. And right now, I think we can hardly grasp that thought of really utilizing all of our brain and what the gifts will come with that. But the more loving you are, the more intelligent you become. So I do think that we'll remain to be human beings. That's why we sent ourselves here. We didn't send ourselves somewhere else. But I do believe that we will have much greater gifts.
It's like heart math. The consciousness of the heart is greater than the consciousness of
Absolutely.
the intellect. And
Absolutely.
that's what we're aiming for.
And when you come from the heart intellect, if you're really coming from the heart, all kinds of miracles open up to you, and you don't just
miracles
care.
are a daily event then.
Absolutely, every day, and you're not just worried about self. When you open up your heart to a larger place, you worry about your neighbor and the consciousness on the planet and the consciousness otherwise.
Well, that is the 5th dimension.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that how you understand it also?
I think it's fascinating just listening in. I agree very much it's about the heart opening. I feel that, for me, love is a word that is used often in so many different faces. And, of course, we know people saying how they love a possession or they love other people. I like to feel love is about connection, which I'm sure we're all talking about, and how to have better connections with each other and with ourselves. My sense is that we are being given a really huge opportunity. I spoke about the veils falling at this present time, that the veils are just falling between these dimensions, and so we're being given the opportunity to connect to those parts of ourselves that have got separated. And I think that's the piece is most terrifying. We would like to love everybody else out there, but we're not always sure about ourselves. And we can tell ourselves we're excited, but I say anxiety is it's a good mechanism to use, because sometimes when we have anxiety, we can move towards that. So we don't always have to be thrilled by it, but many a time I've done something that I'm a little anxious of, but it's been the most powerful part of my reconnection.
But I believe as soon as you start to really understand how to love oneself, where you've come from, to live in the heart and really love yourself, you can truly look out in the audience and say, I love you, and really mean it.
And I'm only saying from my work, it's not just a simple thing of saying, I love myself, now I can love you all. And from where I see it, you are all part of me.
Absolutely.
So actually, I don't have to really worry about any of you when I do meet you. One of the things I know very strongly is if I have an emotional reaction to anybody, they're a part of me that I'm waiting to meet.
Well, there's a lesson for us
So
to
it's a
learn
wonderful
that with
thing that
someone
my world out there is mirroring me all the time.
Absolutely.
So I do get that chance. Absolutely.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely. I think we're saying that love is the key. Yes. And I think it's something we can do now. I mean, just what you said, Keisha, it's not a date, it's now.
Being present and being the best you can be today, right now.
And maybe even wondering why it is that I would have any difficulty loving myself. Maybe that's
the mind
question.
talking to you.
A mind talking, but it's okay to follow that, because it is like going down that rabbit warren and saying, where did I lose myself? Or what is it that's down there?
I really
that I
believe
need to own?
without being challenged, without having those questions, why don't I love myself enough, we would learn nothing. Nothing. So the more challenges we get, the more opportunities there are to learn about ourselves. So if everything was perfect, we would be learning nothing. So in a way, we can look at this life as a learning growth opportunity and work through it and just try to be the best person you can be every moment.
Well, I like to remember that there is only love. And if I see something without eyes of love, it's an illusion.
Yeah.
And so I need to stop looking at that illusion.
And what do you define as love?
Oneness, really. Just being absolutely one with everything. And that if I feel upset or angry or have anything negative that's separating me, then that's my illusion that I have to shift. I'm not saying it's easy.
No, I spoke last night about polarization, and one of our greatest challenges is how we see things as good and bad, good and evil. You know, it's that mindset that keeps us separated.
Even if you look at things as there are no mistakes, instead of the good and the bad and the black and the white, let's look at it as this is our experience that our higher selves are giving to us. What can we learn the most from this experience?
Absolutely. As you said, it's being human, which I think is being creative.
Very much so.
So if we actually could help our children to understand that everything they do is just another new creative experience and not a mistake
How
or something
wonderful
right,
if we could teach them
it
that.
would be a whole new way of saying, well, that was interesting. Are you going to do it again? No. Okay, there we go. And I think there are many cultures that teach like that they don't put the restraints on, don't do this, don't do this. They go, try it.
Wonderful. That's the only way you're going to learn.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So do you think with this kind of, kind of infusion of love, which, as I think it's a good point that it doesn't have to be out in the future, it should be now, start now. Does that affect like family structures, community structures, relationships? Are there going to be changes in people's relationship patterns, or more openness to more variety, or what kind of things do you see happening in that realm?
I was talking about the portals opening, and in 2012 the portal in Honolulu is opening, and that's bringing in transcendent love into our sacral chakra, and so that's going to start shifting how families work together. So at the moment, if a family, they've always been told they have to do one particular thing. They've always been told they have to do what Dad did or something like that. It creates restrictions. And this energy is going to start dissolving that. It's also dissolving all the... Thank you. It's also starting to dissolve all the sexual barriers and sexual diseases that we've built up, and so clear that energy. And then, of course, the crown chakra is also bringing in new transcendent energy, which is changing our relationships, to say nothing of the heart center. And I think that one of the fabulous things is that so many of the new children are coming in from high-frequency universes, bringing in extraordinary high loving energies. And that's so important right now, because they're staying open longer, because more adults are parenting them or grandparenting them to help them stay open to who they truly are. So there is just more love coming into the planet.
I think we can even simplify it even quicker than that is when you are living from your heart, you are opening up your frequencies to being the best person you can. And if you are truly loving your neighbor, if you are truly loving someone else, being pure and honest with yourself, there is no reason whatsoever to judge someone. None whatsoever. In order to see different changes coming to our planet as more love comes in, as our frequency raises, there's no way you can judge your neighbor for who they love. My goodness, love is the most powerful experience on our planet. It's the most powerful energy on our planet. And to have judgments or even hate someone for who they love, that's truly ridiculous. If you can even, if you say that out loud, to hate someone because of who they love, or to have...
If they love like Hitler or something like that.
He's a human being too. You don't have to love the sin, but you can love the sinner. Everyone born to this planet was born perfect and beautiful. A lot of us have done things that we wish we wouldn't have done, but the sinner is still lovable, not the sin. And I think if we are truly living from the heart, then we let go of our judgments, our criticisms, and we do raise our frequency, and we do live in a better world, and so our relationships will be different in a very big way.
What I like to do is, I think I mentioned this in my talk, if I'm in the car and I'm on the motorway and there's a car behind me or in front of me, send love to that person that's in the car and just fill their car with love and use lots of energy to send that golden, beautiful energy to them, and know that it's made a difference to somebody else, even though I don't know them. And they might take that energy away and it might change what's happening for them in their lives.
That's beautiful, because everything on this
so
planet
easy,
is energy.
Yeah.
Everything is energy. And whether you're sitting up here talking to a big group of people, or you're just sitting at home sending love to your neighbor, or sending love to someone like Hitler, you are making a difference. Because love frequency is much, much higher than hate frequency.
Absolutely.
And just being love changes everything.
And I love the concept of blessing. And reading about something in the paper, or even somebody's done something that irritates me, stopping and blessing them and visualizing them happy. And it helps me to feel a lot better.
Of course.
But it also helps them.
Yeah, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, it really does make a difference.
And how about from your study of astrology? Do you see patterns changing in terms of...
I do. I probably want to just add on to this conversation. As I say, I think it's just saying, I am another one of you. I mean, that's the meaning of Namaste, so I don't have to send any energy anyway. If I just
I still think it helps.
Absolutely.
Well, there is nobody out there in my holographic world. So I have Hitler in here, I have the abusers in here, I have everybody in here.
I absolutely agree with that too.
And my simple faith was, if I am in love with me, I entrain everybody else to be in love with themselves.
Absolutely.
When I'm sending love, I am not allowing them to experience it fully, because there is an action. The greatest gift I can be is be in joy and in love. And that then entrains people musically, as you spoke about.
Well,
I want to just bring on another point
but I agree, and
Thank-
I think
you-
that I'm right and you're right, and it's all right.
And I don't think I was
It's all
looking...
inner and outer.
And I don't think I was looking for right or wrong. I'm just making...
It's all inner and outer.
And it is again, this is the ability to be together with different points of view. And how, the unity through diversity that I spoke about is about each of us having a point of view, a piece of the jigsaw.
Well, our differences make us so beautiful.
I wasn't even asking, though, that you should say you're right and wrong.
No.
I'm just, Diane, just a moment. Can I just finish?
Yeah, okay.
I want to just come back to, because I think that Daniel is alluding to something about communities and people. And I feel that, whatever we want to call it, we want to say everybody has a right to do what they're here to do and to live their life to their fullest. There are, however, I think, increasingly differentiations between different people's frequencies at this time. Now, I don't want to say they're better or worse, I'm just saying they're different. And if we use the third eye energy of discernment, I believe it is very important for an individual to develop discernment. Too many of my people, and now I'm talking about when I'm a doctor, have no clue who they are. They have given up their belief systems that I have a right to have an eye. Mm-hmm. And so they are getting sick because their immune system just doesn't exist. So I come back to my work, I'm saying is having discernment to say, when I'm around those people, I don't feel great. Does not mean the same as I don't like them, I don't love them. But it is now, I think, very important. And not only do I discern whether or not I want to drink tea or coffee, but I also discern where I choose to live, the community I live with, the people I live with, and whether I've been meeting this friend for the last 40 years because I used to go to school with them, maybe I'm saying to myself, you know, every time I come home from meeting that friend, I feel worn out. And maybe instead of saying, oh, I shouldn't because they're my friend, I need to say, God bless you, love you, we're complete. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel that lots of people are going through those transitions at the moment in intimate relationships where they're saying, love this person, want the best for them, but somehow our energies are just not functioning together. Yeah. And I feel this is really allowing us to move into communities that are speaking the same language, or we feel more resonant with, and I think very important.
Yeah, one of the Mayan elders spoke about how right now on our planet, when so many energies are coming in and we're all feeling a bit jumbled up and anxious, and things are happening in relationships, and things are falling apart, and we're seeing all this, instead of being upset and anxious that these things are happening, understand with these new energies, we have an opportunity to be shaken up in that sieve and let things fall away that are not feeding your highest potential self. Mm-hmm. And just to let them go. If they're not making you feel the very best you can feel, if your relationships, your friends, whatever it may be, let them go and then open your arms to something that does make you feel good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in a way, I do think that we will see a lot of changes. We already all are going through this. If we ask the audience how many of you are experiencing something like this, most hands would go up. And instead of holding on to something that you know because you know it, let it go if it's not feeding you, feeding your high self. And I do think in this way we will see a lot of shifts in our relationships, in our patterns, in our communities. But let go of that which does not feed you the highest energy, and open your arms to the things that do make you feel good.
It's amazing how with the light coming in, individuals and communities are changing. And I look at Egypt and a lot of the Middle East and see how so much light has come in that they can no longer tolerate the dark space where they were, because they can see all the things that are in the darkness and they're not prepared to put up with it anymore. And I absolutely accolade the courage of a lot of these people. And I guess we're all going to have to show courage as the light comes into our lives and lights up all the things that we don't like about what's going on in our own lives, which is a little bit what you've both been saying about we have to then make choices about what is right for us.
If people want to, start lining up if they have questions, try please to keep it to, questions rather than stories or tirades, And I can be mean about cutting people off if they go into an entire discourse.
I'm sorry, but because we spoke about the love, and it's very important to make distinction between the love of pleasure and love of suffering. Usually people mistaken the love at all, in principle, with love of pleasure. But by love of pleasure, we usually approach automatically way ourselves. Only the radical way to approach the others is love of suffering. All great masochists like Buddha and Jesus, they have advised us, I cannot be happy unless one living thing is suffering. Therefore, we need, usually people mistake, see, I cannot approach through love of pleasure
you have a question?
the other. My question is that, it's a question, every question is backed by so many interpretations that I need only to remind that through love of suffering we can approach only the other, through sacrifice of ourselves. Because, question. The man who wrote 60 books is not so important to me. Question is to Dr. Christine Page. She said that through love to myself, I can go to love to others. See, the common mistake of American New Age and now the contemporary world is that we think to express positive emotions is enough to be spiritual. On the contrary, we have to look in for suffering and transform suffering into joy through the beauty of aesthetic shape or through the beauty of logical shape.
Okay. I think we got
usually people, my question is that in order to resolve this common mistake about usually people mistaken love of pleasure with love at all.
Okay. Thank you. Christine, that's for you.
Thank you. Thank you for not piling on me. Can I just say I concur? I want to just say for my own part that as my journey into my own dark self, the part of me that needed to find the parts of me still in the darkness, I experienced suffering, if you want to speak about it, and that was my greatest teacher, achievement. I have not achieved my Hitler inside me by just thinking about it. I went through the emotion, every emotion that Hitler would have experienced, my tyrant, my black magician, and I did it on my own. And it was a journey of great intensity. I say I was alone, except for my guidance, who never left me at any point. But thank you for that question.
I believe that, living in love does not mean that you don't experience heartache or suffering or pain or any of these things. To be love does not mean you're going to stop being human and to feel the whole ray, the whole spectrum of good and bad and heartache and happiness and joy. To have pain is just to have pain, but if you switch it into suffering, you actually learn something. You learn a lesson and you become a better person. Suffering is not a bad thing. It actually helps you become a better person.
One of my most difficult characters to get in touch with, thank you, Keisha, was the part that didn't actually care if it hurt anybody. That was one of the deepest issues I had to deal with, when this part of me said, don't give me that humanoid love. I'm not accepting any of that. And then I had to really dig deeper and say, what would let me accept this part of me, because it wasn't wanting love. And all I could say was, I accept you are another part of me, thank you. And that helped. Yeah.
I think that one of the big things about suffering is guilt. I think that we put such a lot on ourselves with guilt, and this has been a huge thing, and it started with the fall of Atlantis, and many, many people falsely carried guilt because it was put on the population by the dark magician who was actually Hitler again, and he was in Atlantis. And we've been doing a tremendous amount of work on the inner planes, and all the guilt that people have been carrying from Atlantis has now been lifted. And that happened this year, finally, and all the black magic energy from Atlantis has also been lifted. And so the only thing that's left from all of that is the habit. And once people know that, they can lift it off themselves and they can start really enjoying who they are. Okay.
Hi, it's a real pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you. I've just been finding, with all of these shifts going on, I've been going through a lot of internal stuff and going through a lot of darkness. And at times I don't know if I'm being self-indulgent in that. And I would like to be able to connect with community, be there for other people, but sometimes I feel like I'm unable to because I'm going through the shift within so intensely. I'm just wondering if you have any tools that you could give us to be able to be there for ourselves and simultaneously be there for other people during these intense shifts that are happening.
Well, I do think that your intention's correct, and that's exactly what that's the first step, is to be aware and to go through this process. But I say, take it easy on yourself. All of us are going through great changes and great shifts as these new energies come in, and if you're feeling this going on, take care of you first. And a lot of times I come across people like you that are saying, I'm suffering and all this stuff is going on. Actually, one of my elders said, be proud of yourself. This means you are taking in the new energies. You are experiencing it. This is really happening, so congratulations. The second is, don't be so hard on yourself. Things do feel hard because the things that are not good in your life or that is supporting you need to go away. So that's hard to let go of some things, but let them go. And get yourself into Mother Nature. As you're suffering, instead of holding it onto all of it and saying, I have to take care of this myself, give it to your mother. Just like every person in this building has a mother, or you have children, and if your child is suffering, of course that's the first thing you want to do is take that suffering away. Mother Nature is the same. Go out, spend some time with her, stand in the soil with your bare feet, and just be aware, take it easy on yourself, know that things are processing, and that's a very good sign. And then open your eyes to what is around you, to form community, to buy locally, to have, a big one is to get a share in a group gardens, things like this. Just look around you, see what's available, but take care of you first.
Thank you.
I would agree. I'd say ground yourself in nature, and then I'd say ask the angels to help you, and they will. I had an experience recently where my daughter said something to me, and it really took it into my heart, and I felt very angry and upset about it. And next morning, I was still churning. I knew it was really third dimensional. So I went into the woods, and I stood there, and I said aloud, nature, please take this from me. And as soon as I said that, the most extraordinary thing happened. I was surrounded by elementals, and they started to sing my name. And then the angels joined them, and they were all singing my name. And it felt absolutely incredible. And the pain lifted, and I went out of the woods. And later on, I couldn't even remember what the problem had been for me. And so, yeah, nature, as Kira says, and ask the angels.
I'm just going to... reminds me of a story that Larry Leshan used to talk about, is why you get bigger lobsters. He says the reason you get bigger lobsters than other lobsters is that the lobster will go down into a very dark place in the bottom of the ocean, take its shell off, eat, get bigger, and then the shell hardens on the outside, and it becomes a bigger lobster. Well, you're lobstering at the moment. And he used to say to people, he was a psychiatrist, have you lobstered recently? And I think we don't have enough time for lobstering. I think as women, certainly when we have moon times, that should be a time we take ourselves off and lobster. It's a very rich time. I feel that so many people, again, that I see who are sick are trying to lobster, and they found sickness as the only thing that got them away from the situation that was the problem. And so they remain sick because that's how they lobster. And I would say, during a time of lobstering, usually it could be my experience, but others, sometimes the people around you don't want to get you to lobster. They say, have you lobstered yet? Because it's tea time and we'd like some dinner. So it's not uncommon that the people around you are trying to keep you in the status quo that they're very comfortable in, that you are trying to move away from. And so it is not uncommon that the people can help you to lobster and not necessarily those very close to you. And I would have so much pleasure. I think the most important thing that can help you is other people, especially other women who have been through it or any men that have been through it. We need to support each other now.
Absolutely.
In lobstering, and so that, where we don't have an agenda to you getting better, that we don't fix you, we say, come on into our cauldron and we will help you lobster better than you ever could before.
So hello, I am Marijke Wijfels from the Netherlands, and I'm going to try to rephrase my question in a good English, and I would like to ask you to slowly answer me, because sometimes you are talking a little bit fast. So my question is about the shape love can take on this planet, and maybe you know the book of Niels Donald Walls, or Donald Niels Walls, I don't know anymore, The Little Soul. And I also hope that you all know it. And then there are two little souls are going to this planet, and then one is going to do a terrible thing to the other as an act of love. And so my question, because I was liking your presentation very much, and in the end you started to say they have to be brought to court because they have to, how do you call it in English? Well, that the rich men, you know, they just take everything in their pockets, and you think it's good that they are brought up for that. So my question to you is, if you are this little soul who is, you know, his mission is to bring them up and to give them their life lesson, would you do it? Is your love big enough to go into a violent act? Maybe we would call it a violent act like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, I think that even, you know, having a sense of oneness, unity, universal love, you know, you sometimes still have to, you know, make decisions and act, and you know, it's you know, like for instance, I'm not against the people who fought against Hitler in the Second World War and killed people, you know, to bring an end to Nazism. You know, I think that sometimes, you know, we have to make those types of steps. You know, I mean. You know, even Gandhi, you know, he talked about nonviolence and practiced it, you know, but his whole thing was active nonviolence. It can't just be a passive wish, it has to be put into action. And if you're in a position where you have a dominator, you know, somebody who's, you know, oppressing or just, you know, the best option is active nonviolence, which he called satyagraha. But if that's not possible, then violent resistance is sometimes preferable to no resistance whatsoever. You know.
But maybe, you know, in The Little Soul, it is that that maybe I am your Hitler, and you are going to kill me. But then in the end, you have to remember that God only sent you angels. I'm an angel. I'm not Hitler. You make me maybe into Hitler to do your mission. Yeah. It is more, for me, it is a more complex question, how to love another, because killing in the end can be an act of love. You understand, in this story which is brought forth in this book, The Little Soul, and for me, I love that we go to that depth of that it is not that simple. If there is an oppressor, we kill him. We all think we did a good act, but maybe in another way of thinking, we didn't do at all our mission, and we didn't remember that the one we killed Hitler. We did a good action, but maybe in the end he was an angel doing a big work. I mean, like, we know that there are stories about that, but I would love you to go to that depth about love. So, and in your answers, I mean, like, what?
Was that still for me, or was that for everybody?
No, yeah, I would love to hear everybody, but I don't know if there is time for that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to go to that depth of that you talk about love, on that depth, and not on the simple where you kill somebody who looks like.
Well, I guess a lot of those absolutely deepest decisions are taken at a soul level and not at the level of the personality down here. And so I'm just hoping that my soul would do what was for the highest good.
I think no matter what the question is, as deep as you want to go, the answer is very simple. Love. Love. That's it. You can dig into it, you can look at all different aspects of the situation, whether to kill Hitler or not to kill Hitler, or if he was an angel or not an angel. If it is up to you as a human being to take someone off the earth or not, you have to ask yourself, in your own heart, what should I do? What is the very best thing to do? And know in your heart that that is the right thing. That is up to you. We can go deeper and deeper and deeper into all of these questions, but when it comes down to it, be the best person you can be. It's very simple.
Yeah. Well, for me, life is more complex, but
let's take some other questions.
Can I just say that, I mean, what we're all talking about, to me, is accountability. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what
Absolutely.
Keisha's saying, and I know Diane is saying that we've often got so far from being accountable for our actions. I would start by saying is, how do we stop reacting and stop long enough to say, I don't know if it's I am going to do this action, and whatever happens, I will be accountable for the result.
Absolutely.
That, I think, is a starting point before we judge the action. It's stopping long enough to take ownership of what we do.
Absolutely.
Well, with the questions of euthanasia coming up so much, I asked my guide, and he said, it always earns karma. It's never right, unless it's absolutely done with a pure heart for the highest good of the person with their full permission. And then we got to asking about putting animals down, because this is something that so many people have to take decisions about. And he said, it's the same thing. If an animal goes before its time because of an action you've taken, you earn karma for it. But if you do it with the absolute love and for the highest good, and you hand the animal's soul over to the angels, then there's no karma. But we asked about vets, and he said so many vets have a lot of karma because they don't hand the animal over to the angels when they put it down. So there are lots of things that we can do. Even though we're doing it with total love, we can still get it wrong. We're human.
Thank you. I think it's fantastic seeing you red, white and blue on the stage in front of us. Proud to be British. I love it.
We met beforehand.
My question has to do with the dark, because I hear over and over again that we are trying to dispel the dark, that dark is bad, but to me, I need the dark in order to be able to see the stars. So what is dark?
I don't think dark is bad, and in fact, if you look at most indigenous cultures, black is a sacred place. And black is the beginning. That's where all life comes from. And to me, when I go to my deepest meditations or my deepest place, it is complete blackness. That is where the soul begins. And how can you have right and beauty and love without dark and ugly and wrong? You have to have both, and there is duality. And this is a huge reason why we sent ourselves to this planet, is to experience duality. This is part of our process. It's part of our learning. So be the best person you can be, but that does not mean we have to completely get rid of, I guess you were saying, the dark or evil or something like this. We have to overcome it. If there was nothing to overcome, we would learn absolutely nothing. So of course it has a place.
Yes. It's a bit like being ill then, we learn from it. Yes.
Everything has its place, because there's, in every moment of every day, no matter who you interact with, no matter what you're going through in your life process, it was gifted to you by your own high self, the one person that loves you the very most, who looks after you the most, who knows you the most. So it was gifted to you by yourself to learn exactly what you need to learn at this moment. And if you don't learn in that process, if something's given to you and you learn nothing, it's going to come again and again and again, and you will find yourself saying, why does this keep happening to me? You must understand that everything that you're going through, whether it looks good or looks bad, it is a process for you to learn and to grow and to be the best person you can be. So it does have a place.
Yes. Thank you.
If we didn't have any darkness, it wouldn't be a very good movie.
I think there's also, I think it's just we say we live in a world of duality, but I want to say there is a difference between living in a polarized world, where we say this is good and this is bad, and a world where we have the sacred marriage of opposites, creating the friction that makes us alive. And I feel it's very interesting that we have the word inspiration, which is to be inspired, and then we have that word expiration, which of course has got so many definitions, which is about dying into the darkness. So 18 times a minute we're all facing this, oh my God, I've got to breathe out and die. Oh, look, I've lived again. Oh, look at it. And I think it's no different from the dark and the light of the daytime. In the daytime, we're inspiring ourselves, and at night time, we breathe back into the wholeness so we can be inspired again in the morning. So both are needed. Thank you.
I think there are types of darkness. There's the darkness which is the divine feminine and where you create all your ideas in the earth star chakra, the very beginning, under the earth, the nurturing of the new. And then there's the darkness which is all the hatred and anger and negative feelings. And although we're living in the plane of duality at the moment, as we raise our frequency, we get more and more light. And that's what we're ultimately aiming for, to become fully at the top of the fifth dimension, where we don't have the same level of duality.
This is a question also about the higher self. Because if the higher self is perfect, why do we have to come to Earth to evolve?
To experience, to have an experience, to watch the wind blow through the trees, to look at a bumblebee, to love your partner, to have experience, to taste, touch, smell, to have an experience. Who here would not have brought themselves to this planet for one experience of feeling water on your skin, to go for a swim, to see a child born? This is an experience, and we should be so grateful for it. My goodness, every day is a miracle.
But if we're here to grow, aren't these things that the higher self already is aware of?
What? She's saying that if we're here to grow.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, but that's not the same as experience.
It's totally different from experience. You can sit in your higher state of not having a body or a shape or a form and just be, but you didn't choose that. You chose to send yourself here and have an experience. So that's a question for your own great I am, I guess. Every single one of us chose to come to this planet and have a real experience. How boring to sit and just pure everything and just be. I want to experience. I want to have life.
And we need to be here to experience emotions. And that's one of the biggest
The
learnings.
duality, the ups, the downs. We are here to break our hearts open and to break our hearts, period, and to see and do everything, to be human. We are here to have an experience.
Okay, thank you.
I think as Freddie said about the Adam and Eve story, how that got us really so messed up. So commonly people say, I've been sent here, or I'm being punished to be on earth.
And then you become
And then we start to
angry
say,
at
I want
God.
what's good about this?
Yes. But
beat me up.
if you remind yourself that you sent yourself here, that you are God and Goddess, that you are wonderful and splendid, and you're here from yourself, you sent you here. There's no God to be angry at. If something looks hard or challenging, you let go of the anger, you let go of judgment of somebody else, because they too are God and Goddess, and they too have a great I am that sent themselves here. And it's their own great I am that is giving them every moment of every day to learn and grow just as they need to, just as perfect as they need to. And there's a whole gamut of us on this planet. Some of us are in kindergarten and some of us are graduating high school. We're all learning on different learning curves, but there's not one level or one class better or worse than the other. We are all here to learn and grow from our own high selves exactly what we need to, and to experience what we need to grow and be better people. Mm-hmm. It's a journey. It's an experience. We should be grateful.
I mean, I think a lot of people find it hard to maintain themselves in that state of awareness, moment by moment, day by day. So I'm wondering if you guys have particular practices you would recommend that people do. Is there a way they can tune into that feeling every day, or that deeper consciousness?
I just remind myself, just as I was speaking, whether it's driving down the road and someone cuts you off, or the kids are fighting in the background. It doesn't matter what's happening, if it's good or bad. I remind myself, I am giving myself this experience. What can I learn from it? And in that moment, knowing that I gave it to myself, it must be important. Mm-hmm. What's the best reaction I could have right now? And if you remember this throughout your day, it helps me to be the best person I can be, to react the best way I should. And so just being conscious that I'm giving myself this experience helps me tremendously.
I totally agree with Kira, and I also say this too will pass. And I know it's going to pass, and I'll learn the lesson, and I can always get help from the angels, and that's amazing.
And any of you who have Virgo in your astrology chart know that we analyze ourselves all the time. We never have a problem thinking everything's about us. So if you have Virgo, everything isn't about you. So I would like to switch off sometimes the thought that I've created this reality and just sit back. One of my practices is constantly take myself lightly. Take myself lightly.
Don't take yourself so
just
seriously.
Realizing is if I did create it, I can have fun with it.
Absolutely.
I don't have to get caught into the heaviness of it.
Yeah.
Would you like me to make you feel better? I've got 7 in Earth and 5 of them are Virgo.
Well, there we go. Now we know. I don't know what we know, but we know.
Any final question from the audience? Anybody have something that they want to express? Well, let's see if I think that woman hasn't spoken before over there. We should let her.
Please allow me only to make some very short notice about what is the nature of light, what is the nature of dark. See, the light is the quality of space, and the dark is the quality of time. The space is seen, but the time is heard. Today the whole mankind is shifting from the special visual logic of space and light to the temporal antennas of mankind. Now is changing to the intellectual special orientation to the temporal volition, emotional, intuitive orientation. That means that because the space is seen, the visual logic, the light is the quality of traditional God. I finish. The light is question of the traditional God, but the dark is the qualities of new God, temporal God, because the classical God, the classical man approach God through the way of harmony and delight. But do you? I finish. But the contemporary man has advanced, approached the God through the horror and the dark. What is the disconception way of dark? Okay.
Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you.